What's going on, everybody? Just jamming out right now. Give everyone a bit to hop in, stream if they'd like to. New mic setup. I'm hoping this is better because I've had lots of complaints I'm too quiet. But yeah, happy Friday, everybody. We are at the tail end of the week, ready for our weekend. I know myself and the fam bam are super stoked. Getting to hit up Disney World. So excited. But yeah, we're going to talk about some cool stuff going on with TryHackME actually on this quick little get together with everybody. Yeah, and I'm excited to see what everyone's up to. What up, Port Zero? Good to see you online, man. Yeah, today we are going to be talking about the new introduction to EDR that TryHackME released, and also going to do a kind of quick shout out. Once again, video is not sponsored, but we're going to be doing a shout out to TryHackME for their up and coming Hack to Win, and kind of do a small explanation of what that all is going to entail. So for those that are breaking into cyber or trying to get into the industry, TryHackME and Hack the Box, two of the most predominant videos you'll see me kind of talking about on my stream, are great ways to start to level up your skills and get in some of those needed repetitions to get yourself in a good understanding of certain tools or systems. And we're going to just go over, I think, one of the newer rooms they actually just came out with here, I think just this week. And before that, though, we're also going to turn down the music a little bit. There we go. But yeah, we're going to kind of just briefly talk about that one real fast so I can kind of let you guys kind of know of what TryHackME has going on. So let's go ahead and share the screen here. Put myself here in the bottom corner. There we go. So for those that are not aware, TryHackME hinted on it about a week or two ago of some changes happening on the platform. And what they ended up releasing is their Hack to Win challenge here coming up starting September 1st. Now, with some of these challenges and rooms, you will be able to win some kind of interesting, cool, free swag. Now, I say free swag, but however, what it's going to cost you is time on completing rooms. And once you complete said rooms, you'll be giving tickets that will then qualify you for certain prices. And we have things, so up to $40,000 worth of prizes, everything from shirts, from hats, to vouchers, to swag vouchers, laptops, exam vouchers, day free streaks, and everything up to even their pen test level 1 and their SOC analyst level 1 exam. And there'll be 10 available on each one. So very exciting to see. And they kind of give you all the steps on ways you can get extra tickets, ways they're going to be doing drops on their channel to give yourself an additional boost to kind of get your chances up. Referring a friend, dropping a meme, making a video about TryHackME, or something along that same lines about the 30 seconds to a minute video to use as a catchy attention grabber or title for a video to, as we're doing right now, just kind of sharing the good news of what TryHackME plans on doing, and so much more. So they've done ticket win grab situations before in the past, which I've actually really liked. It gives everyone a chance to complete the rooms at whatever skill level you can possibly kind of manage. And then by just simply doing that, it kind of puts you in the running for some pretty cool swag. So yeah, you get to share your journey on LinkedIn. There's 100 different things you can try to do to amp up those tickets, amp up those chances to kind of get some cool submissions and free prizes or swag or certifications for the 2 certifications that they're offering. But let's go ahead and pivot into the room we're going to be talking about today, which is their learn the fundamentals of EDR and explore its features and working. Now, I've already completed this room up until my complete portion, which we're going to kind of briefly go over, and then we'll hit conclusion together and get our congratulations. We've passed. So let's go ahead and get started. So as always, the basic introduction, we're going to hit those learning objectives and see what we're going to be getting out of this room. So with these learning objectives, we're understanding the basics of EDR and how it works, differentiate EDR from traditional antivirus solutions, examine the architecture of an EDR solution, analyze the types of telemetry it collects from endpoints, and understand detection and response capabilities of an EDR, and investigate a realistic alert inside of an EDR. Now, I won't lie, TryHackME, you almost got me, because looking at some of the screenshots, I thought, and maybe if we'd be jumping into CrowdStrike, because a lot of the screenshots appeared to be CrowdStrike's EDR dashboards, or at least what it appeared to look like to me. But I think it's really cool what they did, and we'll kind of get to that point at the very end where we actually get into the EDR that they have utilized for us to look at some detections and kind of go over what those flags or challenge answers we're looking for. So let's go ahead and start with what is an EDR. So as I mentioned before, there's a few different EDR platforms that are very easily to drop and mention. So, and they do a good job at mentioning some of the ones that are currently on the market. So we have CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, Microsoft Defender, OpenEDR, and Semantic EDR. Now, several other EDR solutions may exist or are available in the market. There's also open source ones I'm sure you can also find, but the underlying architecture or kind of what they're doing is all relatively the same. So these core features of what this EDR is going to do. And okay, cool. So I thought they did mention in here, which I was pretty positive that it was. So they were using screenshots from the CrowdStrike Falcon EDR to demonstrate the core features of an EDR. And which I predominantly have used CrowdStrike within my career, and CrowdStrike also not sponsored, just a fan of the tool. I think CrowdStrike is a very simplistic, user-friendly interface for analysts and engineers alike to use to get into doing EDR and your host investigations. So we talk about visibility, and it's kind of breaking you down on this screenshot. What it's going to show us here is the process tree. So with this process tree, it's almost giving you the whole storyline of what actually occurred to have the end all be all either detection or what it's actually looking for. So for here, if we're looking in our red, that rar.exe probably is our no-no that we didn't like that popped. But we're also seeing these additional TORs and what else happened after those were run or ran. So along with this process tree, there are many other features available with EDR, which will maximize this visibility. And some other things we can get into is your details, which will break down those events, the process tree, showing you the processes of what ran and what were maybe the child processes. And then even further, where I think we're eventually going to be also doing some screenshots and looking into the event timeline. Yeah, so right here, we'll see our detection dashboard. So with this detection dashboard, this is actually going to be showing you when these alerts come in, these are what your analysts are going to be actually going from top to bottom, or most high criticality to lowest. And let's see on this first one, for example, we have this high severity that happened at 09. The process on host was a PowerShell.exe that ran on that server-01 by an administrator. And then we see this command line of actually what it actually also hit for. So that's actually pretty interesting and also just good to keep in mind and know. So here in the response, so EDR empowers analysts to take action on detected threats. The actions can be taken on any endpoint with the central EDR console. Imagine getting a detection on the EDR with full-fledged details on when, where, and what happened. And you have to opt the best possible action for the detection. As an analyst, you may decide to isolate or complete endpoint terminate a process, or quarantine some files. You can also connect to the host remotely and execute actions independently, and you can do this all from the EDR console. The following screenshot shows the actions available that can be taken on the host after connecting to it. So what they missed on this piece, or at least on this screenshot, so they've already connected to the host, which when you jump into your detection here, there's a top right corner that actually allows you to remote into host. Now, depending on privileges and access you have for an analyst or an engineer, these could be disabled depending on the organization's rules or policies. That could be only allowed for tier 2s or tier 3s, but it actually gets you into the host here where you're right here. You can see that they're actually remoted into this host, which is the HQ-TAC PRD website. Now, when you're in there, it can also allow you to run scripts or other commands to, exactly as I mentioned above, to take certain actions. So that's kind of pretty neat. Well, let's tie down here now to our questions and just keep this note in for task 6. We'll be covering the detection and response capabilities of an EDR with more detail. So which feature of an EDR provides the complete context of all these detections? That's going to be your visibility. Visibility is going to kind of show you that whole picture of what's going on to get the full context. And then which process spawned from that sc.exe? So if we go back up here to our picture here, so what spawned from cmd.exe was right here, that sc.exe. So scrolling back down here to our bottom piece of what was that process that was spawned, that's going to be our solution. Moving us into task 3. And hey, everybody, if you're in the channel, thanks so much for popping in. Please drop a hi in comments. Or if you've used EDRs before, maybe what your favorite EDR was, or what current, well, maybe don't say what current EDR you're using, because the last thing we need is some oaths and stuff going on and folks kind of getting the Google dork saying, haha, this company's using said EDR. But maybe just drop in comments what your favorite one is. So, okay, awesome. So let's keep going down to our task 3, beyond the antivirus. So why do we need an EDR? And have we already have an antivirus on these endpoints? So this does a decent job of explaining the immigration check of an AV monitors incoming people and machines, their passports with a list of known criminals in a database. If this is a match, the entry is blocked and caught. So that's kind of the analogy they're using to explain kind of the difference. So, and to go back one more sentence, let's assume an airport is the endpoint and that needs protection. One layer of the protection is to check passports and people that they pass through immigration. So moving along, so this is where an EDR comes in. The EDR is an analogy, would be the security officers stationed inside the airport, the endpoint. These security officers would consistently monitor security cameras and monitor sensors in the airport or the endpoint. Compared to the immigration check, which is your antivirus, the security officers, your EDR, enhances the protection of the airport, the endpoint, through CCTV monitoring and motion sensors. So you see as they kind of go hand in hand, they're helping out Elijah Compton. Hey, thanks so much, man. Good to see you on the channel. Thanks for the comment. So you see that both of them really go hand in hand in complementing each other when it comes into securing endpoints and kind of going through the next steps. So let's real quick read through our scenario here for our breakdown. So step 1, a user receives a phishing email with a Word document embedded with malicious macros, VBA scripts. Step 2, the user downloads this document and opens it. Step 3, the malicious macros is silently executed and spawns a PowerShell script or command that runs. That malicious macro runs the obfuscated PowerShell command to download a sophisticated second stage payload. That payload is injected into a legitimate SVC host.exe, and the attacker gains remote access to the system. Well, that doesn't sound pretty good. So if we go through our antivirus responses and our EDR responses here in this step down here, it kind of tells you what each piece of it would be doing. So antivirus does nothing in the download file, has no previous signatures, or is inside any database. So it doesn't know. Now EDR or CrowdStrike or whatever EDR you have, that logs a file downloaded activity and it would monitor it. Step 2, we still don't see anything happening here with our antivirus. It does nothing upon the opening of the document, since winword.exe is a legitimate utility. So once again, not having it on the naughty list or a bad list isn't going to allow antivirus to really do any kind of response. Now your EDR is still recording that record that the execution of WinWord, and it's now still monitoring to see what's going on. So step 3, antivirus still hasn't done anything because there's no previous signatures. So as we're emphasizing, antivirus doesn't have this on the no-no list, so it's going to allow this process to keep running. Now, your EDR detects and flags that macro executions were possibly ran due to the unusual parent-child relationship of the WinWord in the PowerShell process. Now, for step 4, we start to slowly see AVs will now detect obfuscated or will not still detect obfuscated PowerShell scripts. So still antivirus is not even in the game yet. Now, CrowdStrike or any EDR is going to flag that obfuscated script execution. As we can see with this running picture, antivirus will not flag malicious injections since it does not monitor the memory injections, but CrowdStrike or EDRs will and detects process injections into our svc host.exe. For step 6, this is lacking a network level visibility, so we're still not seeing anything from our antivirus, but the EDR is going to flag and then the unexpected behavior of this activity and make an outbound connection. Antivirus for our final action may be marked as clean, but we don't know. And then our EDR response is going to generate that alert with that whole list of attack chains that enabled the analyst to take action and do that full investigation. So given this analogy, what presents as an antivirus? And as we mentioned before, that was your immigration check. What legitimate process was hijacked by the attacker in the scenario? So for this scenario, we were mentioning that was our svc host.exe. Which security solution might mark this activity as clean? And that's going to be your antivirus. So as we mentioned before, they both have their own role to play inside protecting an endpoint. But antivirus, when it comes into this type of activity, is going to miss a lot of things that your EDR response will be taking action on. So moving right along to task 4. So how an EDR works. So I think they did a decent job at breaking this down for explaining how your agent, also considered maybe the actual system that it's protecting, is what it can also be determined as or leveraged to. So these agents are also sometimes referred to as sensors. So they are the eyes and ears of the EDR. Their job is to sit in the endpoint and to monitor all the activities and inform the information about these activities is sent to the detail of the EDR scenario console in real time. So here's a good little EDR console dashboard that you're seeing, once again from CrowdStrike. And you'll see these new detections and all the other activity from most recent detections that it's going to be providing you as this is all being generated. So what happens after the detection? So this is where your SOC analysts get to earn their job or earn their pay and start jumping into those detections and then self-assign those to start their investigation. They'll start going through logs. They'll start going through and clicking those investigations, assigning themselves the case, and start to do their analysis on what actually is happening. As always, the analyst's job is to first use their experience and determine if this is a false positive or a true positive. Obviously, with true positives, we want to take that next step action, see what's going to be next, quarantining the host, terminating the process, or possibly escalating it to another team. So EDRs with other tools, obviously an EDR is going to be married up and always utilized better with additional tools. So your SIM, SOARs, other log sources that you can then correlate and kind of review these type of alerts that you'd be trying to work or have your analysts work. So which component of the EDR is responsible for collecting telemetry from these endpoints? As we mentioned, that's also considered an agent. So that would be our agent. An EDR agent is also known as a sensor, as we mentioned here in our first piece right here, that they can also sometimes be referred to as sensors. Moving right along, let's go. And hey, everyone, thanks so much if you're on the stream. Really appreciate it. Always please drop a like, drop a comment, just say a quick hi so I know you're here. And we're going to keep kind of rocking and rolling. We're about halfway done here with this room. For those that haven't seen it or jumped on the first time, we're talking about TryHackMe's Introduction to EDR and learning the fundamentals of EDR and to explore its features and workings. Oh, scrolled too fast. Hold on. What is telemetry? All right, so telemetry is the data that these endpoints are going to push to the EDR console, and that data is known as telemetry. Telemetry is the black box of an endpoint with everything necessary for detection and investigation. So this is collecting everything from our agent or that information files, the malicious activity that happened, and anything else we want to see, command line prompts. And it's going to be sending it all to that ED console so we can all look at it on a single pane of glass or a single detection or alert. So process executions, network connections, command line activity, files and folder modifications, and registry modifications. So let's kind of go down here to our questions that are going to be pretty quick and easy to pull from because they're right above us. So what telemetry data helps detect C2 communications? That's going to be your network connections. So seeing that network connections will see and help you identify any of the C2 servers or unusual port usage that might be going across or seeing on that network. And then where are the configuration settings of a Windows system primarily stored? That's going to be inside the registry modification. And right here, the registry is a gold mine of information about configurations in a Windows system. All right, keep moving along. We are now on task 6. In this task, we will discuss the advanced detection techniques and response mechanisms of an EDR. So that detection and response piece. So for detections, we see behavioral detections, anomaly detections, IOC matching. It can also add in our MITRE attack mapping and machine learning algorithms. Now that response is what it's going to allow our analysts to do. And sometimes what CrowdStrike or that EDR will automatically allow that system to do depending on how things are set up and what that behavior is seeing, such as isolating the host, terminating the process, quarantining those files, or having our analysts do a remote access to dive in additionally, or maybe even grab those files or artifacts. So here for our question, what feature of the EDR helps you identify threats based on known malicious behaviors? And if you go up here, we want to obviously see our IOC matching, so instance of compromise, to then drop into here, because that's what we're going to be looking for to see what's malicious. All right. Now with this next piece for task 7, since we're going to be inside of another viewed site, I am going to give this, I'm going to go ahead and turn my We're going to go ahead and complete this room. We did it, everybody. Congrats. Amazing. We've earned 120 points, completed 8 simple tasks. This was a pretty room type walkthrough room. I wouldn't say too crazy. This is definitely noob approved. And super easy challenge, obviously. We're going to get our 1-day streak. And I've been lacking on my streaks because I've been jumping back and forth between TryHackMe and Hack the Box. But yeah, congrats. This is, I think, a great room and a great way for TryHackMe to pull in EDR training to a lot of folks that when I talk to a lot of folks on breaking into cyber, it's hard to find or have them gain their own EDR experience on training because there's not many unless you have your own home lab and you're using maybe your own Microsoft Defender, your own open source tool, if you're not on an industry live network, you're probably not gaining a hard, solidified means of EDR experience. So war rooms like this, I think, are fantastic for any training you can kind of get a hold of. Because with that training for endpoint detection response, being able to say you've been on a dashboard, you've gone through and navigated and quarantined and worked through alerts and you've gone through searches are a huge help, I think, into leveling up your EDR experience that you may or may not be missing within your career. So as always, when you're done with this, if you're working and trying to break into cyber, go ahead and demonstrate that experience. Drop these on your communities. Share it on X, share it on Facebook, share it on LinkedIn, and just give that kind of quick shout out saying, hey, look, like I did my learning today and I jumped in my daily TryHackMe box to continue my education and growth to breaking into cyber. And we're going to go ahead and close this. So yeah, I thought this was a really fun room. I think it says a 60-minute timeline. If you're a fast reader and honestly you can kind of go through these boxes pretty quick, I wouldn't say that this is going to take a full hour. I would say that this room is probably on the more or less going to take you around anywhere from just about how long we took, about 25 to 30 minutes. Now, obviously, there's tons of walkthroughs and videos like this to kind of walk you through these challenges. I challenge you to make sure you do these on your own before jumping on these videos for a quick review. But it's always nice to have these as a nice kind of like hack along, defend along, like Tyler Ramsey does with his video training for Hack Smarter on walking you through the challenges step by step. So I think the most best favorite part on this, I think, was obviously task 7 of getting to jump into TryHackMe's EDR site here that they created to kind of look through those detections, see what that looks like, to put hands-on keys and get you into an instance to actually look at what an EDR kind of is, if you've never been inside of one or what it even looks like. I think they did also a great job at the screenshots, also attaching all the different screenshots of what an EDR could be. Obviously, CrowdStrike is a one that's been up and around the block many a times this year. Most organizations will have this instance. If they have, if not this, might be Azure or Microsoft, not Azure. What would I say? Sentinel-1 or Microsoft Defender. Those are the other, I'd say, top 3, personally, my opinion, within the industry of when you're going around looking for certain places that you're going to have to jump into and understand and know. But hey, everybody, great job. This was so much fun. A nice little kind of defend train along on a Friday here in Arizona, where it's about 11:18. So for those that are still working on their Friday, grinding to the weekend, keep it up. Good luck. You're almost there. I'd say halfway there at least. But yeah, I'll kind of stay on probably for another, give or say, like 5-10 minutes to kind of open it up to the AMA, Ask Me Anything status. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, drop a comment, add the Ginger Hacker channel to your go-to YouTube series or subscriptions, because we'd love to have you. We love the support. We love folks. We love helping folks break into cyber and answer questions and kind of just give it to you kind of straight up with any kind of question or answer you have. So also, we are looking for sponsors. So if you are a shot caller within your organization and want to help the K through 12 folks here in Arizona, or even within your local community, I'd love to do meetups and kind of any collaborations with any other city organizations trying to help kind of do cybersecurity training or awareness, sponsors and scholarships for our young K through 12 and community college members trying to break into cyber to get their first certification. Ginger Hacker has been approved by Hacker Club into the nonprofit 501(c) status. So we have some big stuff coming around this year. on talks and workshops with our K through 12 community schools here in the Valley, and kind of getting to help the younger generation break into cyber, do some scholarships, do some certification mentoring and promotions to get someone their first Security Plus voucher, and more. So excited to have everyone here. So excited for everyone that's been helping with its growth and helping this channel kind of become what it is today. And a huge shout out to Dakota Snow, or the Bearded IT Dad, Tyler Ramsby, Simply Cyber, and so much more of the organizations and groups I've been chatting with, kind of helping just bolster up the channel. So yeah, we're just going to kind of hang out for a bit. I will kind of keep the chat open so I can kind of keep an eye on if anyone has any questions on breaking into cyber. And as always, yeah, we'll kind of catch you guys on the next video. Let's just hang out for a bit, kind of jive out to some of the amazing, cool, free lo-fi music that Restream creates for us, and kind of just maybe vibe code for a bit and get some work done. I'll talk to you guys here in a bit. Any advice for walks? That is a good question. Funny enough, Elijah, I'll actually be doing a video here coming up on how to become a warrant officer for 170 Alpha. But the advice for walks is be flexible. So you're going to a course that is constantly evolving, just like our cyber tools and community we live in today. Concepts and certain tools kind of change relatively frequently. W3 Schools for Python and PowerShell, I think, is a great way when it comes into leveling that up. I do have a series, Elijah, on my channel of pretty much my entire 170 Alpha breakdown, like week by week blog I did. That's the one thing I'd recommend if you want to go check that out. Some of the concepts are still the same. I know I have a few soldiers there right now going through walks. Oh, not walks. I'm thinking WOBIC. Walks is just something that has to happen. I was thinking WOBIC. I apologize. Yeah, advice for walks. Just be ready to stay busy. You're going to be, depending if you're going to the RTI version, which is what I went to at Fort McClellan. It was 4 weeks long. The original one, or the OG one, we'll call it, is I think 5 to 6 weeks. And it's not about the socks is the best way to describe it. You're going to have certain standards on like keeping your room clean, folding your clothes, studying, and then just stay out of trouble, dude. Like keep your head down, stay busy. I would personally volunteer for a leadership role relatively fast, because you have to get evaluated twice while at walks for leadership ability. So I know I volunteered to be the first sergeant role my first week there, and because I wanted to knock out my leadership grading, because they have to grade you on how you lead or how you manage and become a leader, obviously. So other than that, dude, if you haven't been working on your ruck, do some rucking. Make sure you're good for your ruck march. It's not difficult. It's just you need to make sure you're meeting time. All the tests there and courses, walks has become more student led. So you'll be more not managed by your black hats or your staff, but they'll treat you like, the best advice we got told is like they'll treat us like cadets or like children when we act like children. So as long as you guys are doing the right thing, you're getting stuff done on time, you're staying busy and productive and actively engaged, you shouldn't have any issues. Have your your quartermaster or whoever's going to be in charge of your coffee officer, write that memo immediately, because there's no energy drinks, there's no candy or any of that crap. It's water or like just generic coffee. And that was the first thing that on day one, we hand jammed a memo to allow us to drink coffee and get coffee brought into the classroom. Because yeah, smokers can't smoke. Your folks that dip can't dip. So also, if that's something that you partake in, I'd stop doing it now or just know how to go cold turkey for 4 to 5 weeks, because that made some of our nicotine users a little grouchy, but they still made it through. But yeah, walks is something that just has to happen, but you'll definitely enjoy it. It's a great time. My other recommendation is as soon as you're done with walks or warrant officer candidate school, immediately find your WOBIC date. So your warrant officer basic course, because the sooner you're done with all of it, the better you are, man. I knocked my stuff out in a single year. I went to walks in January, came back to my unit, went to an annual training mission in Germany, came back and got accepted into our warrant officer basic course in July. And I was pretty much gone from July to December, but I got my warrant officer training completed and done. So yeah, definitely would recommend that, because it's just nice to have it all said and done with. It just stinks when you go to walks and then you have to wait a whole year to attend the warrant officer basic course. It could just take a long time. I rather just get things done one and done. And that's my recommendation on that. Hopefully that helps if you're still here. So cool. Good question. I will say this too, actually, real quick. I'll pull this back up. So if you're past the breaking into cyber kind of piece that I talk very heavily on my channel, obviously, the next pieces I direct you guys would be either the SOC level 2 course with TryHackMe, their path. And then another thing too, if you go here to learn and you go here to learning paths, a lot of folks also ask me like, hey, look, I am brand new trying to get into cybersecurity. What should I do? Hey, anytime, Elijah. Thanks for the questions. I appreciate it. And this is one thing I really emphasize to folks that have never done or gotten into cyber before. The fundamentals and your pre-security classes are really good baselines to, one, see what you like, and two, to kind of really maybe get yourself in a direction. Obviously, there's the security engineer one that I think is also really beneficial to get into if you're past that entry level role and you're looking to level up, get into maybe rule detection creation with Yara and being more of a back end. The web fundamentals, I think, is really good to learn your burp sweep and to understand those web fundamentals of major vulnerabilities, learning your industry level tools on pen testing. And then obviously your junior pen tester, which is, I think, a great thing to get into as well. So I did get the pen test level 1 certification from TryHackMe while at DEF CON. So one thing I'll give TryHackMe a huge shout out to this, because they were at DEF CON this year inside Blue Team Village. And all you had to do was go to their table and show them that you had a TryHackMe account. Didn't have to be a premium, didn't have to be, you could have made one right up there on the spot. And by doing that, it allowed you to pick a certification to get. And obviously I already hold my SOC Analyst Level 1 certification, which, another shout out if you've not done their certification for Security Analyst Level 1 with TryHackMe. Also a fantastic certification to check out. on the blue team side. I have a whole nother video where I kind of did my breakdown on going through these results and what I thought about it. Not sponsored, so it's my own opinion and what I think is a great value out of this. The thing I liked most about this room is there's 3 parts of it. You have a multiple choice question, which is 80 questions, and then you have 2 real labs you are in doing work inside of a sim, which they're using Splunk, and then you're actually going through logs with Splunk as well. Or I think they're using XOR for their SOAR, their sim SOAR. But it's fantastic to get into and actually use. So, and it's the passing score, I think, is a 750. I rocked out an 872. I was very happy with my score. The AI grading was interesting. I know there's also an AI grading portion of it with the pen test level 1 junior pen test certification. The same advice I was told, and also reading some of the medium reviews and other pieces, is as long as you follow in like your who, what, when, why, where, your 5 W's, you'll likely get a good score across the whole piece of it. And if you look in as well, the predominant, just if you alone are good at web app security and your network security, that alone will get you a passing score to get past this one. I've heard mixes of the most difficult part of this certification being either the network security or your Active Directory. And it just depends on your level of experience of what you're, I think, better at. Myself, not really being a full-blooded red teamer pen tester, I probably think personally my weakness would be the web app, which I know some people say is the most easiest. I've also read some reading that the Active Directory, you didn't have to do too much leverage on pivotal moving. It was pretty lateral. So, but I've heard good things about it nonetheless. And this is definitely on my list of things to grab this year, especially because I have my free attempt, which expires October 1st. So on top of all my other plethora of certifications and trainings I've been kind of going off of and doing these rooms and trainings for TryHackMe, I'm also still on my pipeline on studying and getting ready to take my junior penetration tester certification, which as always, I'll still also knock out a video on my honest opinion, pass or fail, on my thoughts on it. What was my full studying and prep attempt to get myself ready for that certification. Go ahead and minimize that because yeah, that's really all I got, everybody. So if there's no other questions in chat, I really appreciate everyone kind of coming around, checking out the video, hanging out for the live stream. This will be jumping onto the channel, obviously, once this is done. And huge shout out to TryHackMe, and so excited for their hack to win here come September 1st. And hopefully drop your handles and TryHackMe if you guys want to connect. And always also check out for their capture the flags they have going on. There's always some great training. Hit up any of those learn maps, the roadmaps they have. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next episode on Breaking In Cyber. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Have fun.